Alright, so if you're curious why I stopped it there, it's a long story, but I have an old iPad and I'm afraid to make updates on it, and the videos work fine the way they are, aside from this watermark, but, shout out Dosary Desktop Trial. You can have this space on my videos, but pretty much I'm worried that if the videos go too long, I won't be able to email them to myself because it'll be too big of an attachment. So if you're curious why the videos sometimes are 5 minutes each, that's why. Sometimes I use Zoom to make my videos, and that's when they're really long, but I tried it and I kind of feel more comfortable using this. So it doesn't really matter, but back to the math. Alright, so we should always rationalize our functions. That means get rid of the radical in the denominator. So get rid of a root 5, we need to square it. But you can't just square the denominator because that changes the value of it, right? If I did 1/2 and I squared the denominator, it's now 1/4. That's different from 1/2. But if I multiplied the top and the bottom by 2, then I get 2/4, which is still equal to 1/2, and I ended up squaring the 2 by multiplying it by itself. So, to get rid of this radical 5 in the denominator, I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by root 5. So I get root 55 over 2 times 5, so it's 10. Okay, I could do the same thing down here. I'm going to change the color so it stays different from the previous example. So I'll multiply the top and the bottom here by root 5, and I get 3 root 5 over 10. Alright, and then that would be tangent. Okay, now, the reason why we did this video is talk about the reciprocal functions. So, what we're going to do now is we're just going to flip each of them. So the reciprocal of sine is cosecant. So the cosecant of b is going to be 10 over root 55, which now has a radical in the denominator, so we can rationalize it by multiplying it by root 55 over root 55. So we get 10 root 55 over 55. Now a lot of times when that happens, you could simplify this fraction here. So since 10 and 55 are both divisible by 5, we could divide both of them by 5, and we get 2/11ths. So we end up getting 2 root 55 over 11, and that's what the cosecant of b is equal to. Okay. Now if we do the same thing for the secant of b, okay, that's just going to be this flipped. So I could flip that, or if we look to the original example before I rationalized it, the radical was in the denominator. So if I flip it now, the radical will be in the numerator. So sometimes before you do all this, I mean, we couldn't do it in the last example because there was a radical in the numerator to begin with, but if you're flipping something that has a radical in the numerator, see if when you previously simplified it, the radical was in the denominator, because when you flip it, then you don't have to worry about rationalizing it. Alright, now you can't do that with the tangent of b because the radical's already in the numerator. So if we were looking to find the cotangent of b, we would just flip it, get 3 over root 11, and then rationalize it, and we get 3 root 11 over 11, and that is our answer for the cotangent of b. And that's how you find reciprocal functions.